Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and the 9 Laws, as in Ivan Throne. We'll give things a few minutes for people to swing by. I forgot to put this on Twitter, so if somebody wants to throw that up for me, I would appreciate it. I thought I'd just give a brief wrap-up of my thoughts on the debate earlier tonight with Andrew Anglin. We missed Tara McCarthy. I think it was kind of funny. One of the things I commented on the blog was this is the first debate in which I've taken part in which the moderator lost. So, yeah, I mean, Anglin. I'm disparaging Andrew Anglin today. It's the thing that's funny is that he had this long prepared script that other people had helped him write, and he was whining and crying about how he's the most persecuted person in the history of history. I mean, it was actually hard not to laugh when he was whining about the fact. I mean, you have to keep in mind the narrative is supposed to be that I am whining and crying about being called names and so forth, and so. The funny thing was, I have to admit that my, what I prepare, or not what I prepared, what I said in the debate was a little bit disjointed, simply because I didn't bother doing any preparation for it. There was no need to, I mean, yeah, what we had there is, what we had there was the illustration of the 2SD, 2 standard deviation IQ gap in action. He literally did not understand a lot of what was going on. Unless you actually pay attention to the things he was trying to say, you don't understand how little he understood. He did get emotional. He was like, why? I don't understand why you're doing this. It's like, no, you don't. There are many, many things you don't understand. Like I commented on the blog, if this is the Christendom's line of defense against the Jews, we might as well, the entire world might as well surrender now. He was so white. My favorite part was when he jumped in the middle of my closing statement and was going off. I just said, you know what? That's a great close. As far as I'm concerned, that's a great close. And so, no, see, this whole, even if you win the debate, you said that's not the line that the Daily Stormer style manual tells you. You're supposed to declare victory all the time. You're always supposed to declare victory all the time. How tall am I? I'm 175 centimeters. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about economics. I don't know anything about history, all this sort of thing. We're not talking about the lawsuit, so, so anyhow, I personally found the whole thing tremendously amusing. You have to keep in mind, when I debate people, I'm usually debating people with PhDs. I debate people like Dr. James Miller. He is a professor of economics. We did a debate on free trade. Dr. Miller was kind enough to concede. And in fact, it was such a good, intelligent informative debate that we actually published it as a book, which went on to become the #1 bestseller in economic theory. I think it is safe to conclude that we are not going to publish this debate as a book. And if we did, it would definitely be in the humor category. It's just ridiculous. The title of that book is On the Question of Free Trade. It's by Dr. James Miller and Voxday. And so, the thing that I thought was interesting about it, some of the things I thought were interesting about it, were that his criticisms of the globalist, neoliberal world order were not off base. Some of the things that he said in that regard were legitimate. However, that was about it. The thing is that when you are, when you are talking about, there's two aspects to a problem. There's diagnosing the problem, and then there's coming up with a solution to the problem. And so there is a legitimate problem. The world is rapidly entering an extremely difficult and dangerous time. There are many, many ways of indicating this. The historical trends are clear, the socioeconomic trends are clear, the economic issues are troubling, the demographic issues are out of control, all this sort of thing. But you still have to pay attention to what people, even if somebody is correct about the problems, that doesn't mean that you are going to clutch at any solution to it. See, you're wrong. You guys keep trying to run away from the question. Debating whether or not National Socialism is right or left seems like a waste of time. No, it's not, because that is what indicates these people are fake right. These people, they have no claim to be part of the alt-right. Alternative right, that the adjective modifies the noun, but the noun still functions. It does not reverse the noun. Okay? So these fake right guys, whether you're talking about Andrew Anglin, whether you're talking about Richard Spencer, they are not part of the right wing at all. Furthermore, one of the things that Andrew Anglin said, he said is, what do you have against me? Why aren't we on the same side? And that sort of thing. No, we're not first of all, we're not talking about a historical context from the 20s and 30s. We are talking about every single definition of right and left that you apply. You can go back 2,400 years. You can go back to before Christ and trace this back to Aristotle versus Plato. You can look at it from the French Revolutionary perspective. You can look at it from the communist libertarian perspective. But if you want to go to the absolute core, if you want to go to the absolute base and the absolute foundation of all of this, it comes down to truth versus lies. And what Andrew Anglin and his organization and his allies and his friends, they are all based on lies. They are all based on deceit. They lie constantly. They lie as an intentional strategy. After getting brutally beaten, getting beaten so badly that he barely bothered to even try to metaphorically raise his fists. Despite that, you still see them running around. Oh, he won, he crushed, he was victorious. That's right out of their manual. That's right out of their manual. All the stuff about how it's the most popular alt-right, it's got the most traffic. You know they're lying. How do you know they're lying? because all the numbers that they report are different. All the, they're saying it gets 10 million a month, it gets 5 million a month, it gets 500,000 a day, all this sort of stuff. But see, the victory laps that they're taking is actually part of their strategy. What they do is they show up. Doesn't matter if they win or lose or whatever. Then they run around claiming that they won. That's literally it. I mean, it's literally right in their manual. The same one that I quoted from. What was funny was he tried to do the debate technique where they call you out on something that you don't have to hand, that you have no reason to have to hand. Why would I have a list of Andrew Anglin's lies to hand in a debate about National Socialism? It's not even on topic. It's totally irrelevant. But you notice, what did he do? He was saying, tell me what specifically, what specifically have I lied about? Okay. So I just took my time, looked up the manual that I found, and then I just ended up reading the lies directly from his style manual. I did. He got very, very upset. He started jumping in, trying to distract away from the fact that I was not only answering his question about the specific lies, I was reading from his own manual, telling people how to lie, telling them that they had to lie. And so that's why Andrew Anglin and the Daily Storm Poopers, or whatever it is they call themselves, that's why they will never be on our side, because they are people of the lie. They serve Satan. They are evil, and there is no good in them. And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they claim their objectives are. Why would you believe what their objectives are when they lie about everything else? Anytime you know somebody is a confirmed liar, no, they are confirmed liars. It is in their manual. The liars thing was not unclear in the debate at all. The Jews did not cause the rainforest deforestation. They specifically say, even when we know that the Jews are not responsible for it, you must always blame the Jews for it. It doesn't matter if Jews are bigger liars. You don't fight lies with lies. You fight lies with the truth. There's a fundamental problem. There are always the occasional gray areas. There always are areas for, you have to use rhetoric. You have to use rhetoric because some people don't understand dialectic. Conservatives don't fight lies with the truth. They absolutely don't fight lies with the truth. Now, they do often make the mistake of trying to stick only to dialectic. That doesn't work always. But the fact of the matter is that the entire foundation of this fake right is deceitful, is false, and they are absolutely dependent upon lying. They lie to their own followers, they lie to the public, and they probably lie to themselves. When they're running around, it says right in that manual, it says right in the style manual, it says, always exaggerate our influence, exaggerate our numbers. That's why I know that whatever they say about the traffic for the Daily Stormer, it is exaggerated, because that is their strategy. And so you know, it doesn't, okay, I'm going to get rid of this guy. And so anyhow, you know, the thing is that people who depend on lies get trapped in them. Yes, that's why they're always talking about how popular with the youth they are. They're not that popular with the youth. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, and so, you know, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that there's no reason to believe a single word that they say. There's no reason to believe a single word that they write, because that is the basis of their strategy. You can't believe, I mean, once you realize this, once you see what they're actually saying, once you see how they're actually instructing each other to do this. Okay, dude, you gotta shut up about stressism. I really don't care. And so, you know, that ends up dominating everything that you do. Because once you start lying about stuff, you know, it just piles up. You know, you start lying to cover the lies, and then you have to lie again to cover the lies that you're lying about covering them. And so, anyhow, it doesn't matter. They're not relevant. You know, they're going to keep doing what they're doing on Gab and you know, defaming me and defaming other people and issuing death threats to people and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm not wasting my time on them. You know, we're just doing what we need to do to take out the trash. You know, people will understand that they're fake right, and will stop paying attention to them. You know, anyone who has, you know, an IQ over Watertown, you know, over 105 or so, is going to stop paying attention to them. And so, you know, it'll take some time, but, you know, more people are going to see this, and more people are going to notice that. And so, but again, you're saying the alt-right fighting each other. We're not fighting each other. There is no us. They're fake right. They are not of the right. It's not we. That's what they're trying. That's part of what they're trying to do. They're trying to increase their numbers by claiming that there is this large group of, you know, potential allies and that sort of thing. But they're not. You know, and so you know, the men of the West and the guys who kind of consider themselves to be more alt-West than alt-white, you know, they've been itching to go after these guys for months. I said, you know, and I was the one who was restraining them. I was saying, no, you know, they say they're concerned about these things. Some of this stuff is right, but so be it. Anyhow, that's all I've really got to say about that. So it was, you know, it was what it was. So, well, of course they're terrified that we're going to take the title of alt-right away from them, and we are. I mean, what you may not realize is that they were not part of the original alt-right. They used to make fun of it. Then after Hillary, you know, addressed that, then suddenly they tried to latch onto it. You know, these guys will try to latch on to anything. They'll latch onto the next thing. And that's also why it's totally pointless to try to say, oh, we're not alt-right, we're new right. Or what. I mean, it's the ideas that matter. And contrary to what Andrew Anglin was trying to say, ideas matter. Definitions matter. Words matter. History matters. Philosophical coherence matters. And more than anything else, the truth matters. And so, you know, this is just, this is a battle that will never, ever end. Okay? Because the eternal battle between truth and lies does not come to an end, until the curtain comes down. And so, as a Christian, I am not concerned about this stuff. True right is a reason. It would be a reasonable thing for us to call ourselves. If we were starting from scratch, maybe we would. But alternative right. The thing that is useful about alt-right, alternative right, is it makes it clear that we're not talking about basic bitch conservatism. We're not talking about conventional libertarianism. We are talking about something that, you could call it post-right if you wanted to. Dissident right is something that's been used for decades. But the best thing about alt-right is that the left hates it. Because the ideas that are key to the alt-right appeal to people that are not white. Globalism threatens everyone. Globalism threatens every nation. It threatens the Japanese. It threatens the Chinese. It threatens the Russians. It threatens the Americans. It threatens the Germans. So there's no point in artificially limiting a philosophy that we know appeals to a much broader base. That to me, this is an indication of the lack of intelligence of a lot of these people who are focused on the alt-right being just white nationalist. All right? They don't understand how much appeal there is to certain aspects of the philosophy they hold. And so, the Buddhists in Myanmar would probably sign up to most of the 16 points of the alt-right. And again, don't confuse the guys like Andrew Anglin and Richard Spencer are always talking about branding and positioning and all this kind of stuff. That's what people who are dependent upon deceit do. It's not a movement. It's not a political party. It's a series of ideas, and ideas are always free. You can't control the ideas. You can't limit the ideas. There is no leader of the ideas. The ideas exist regardless of whether anyone really understands them or can articulate them. No, I'm not talking about how I brand myself at all. I haven't even mentioned my main brand. In fact, let's get back, let's go. I understand a lot of people want to talk about the Gab situation and stuff, and I'm not going to go into too much detail there. But, I had a conversation with somebody who, is a friend and is also, I think, sympathetic to Andrew Torba. And he said, I just think this is really bad. I think, it's damaging your brands or damaging PR. I don't remember exactly what the words, but it's the same thing that a lot of people have said, And I understand that people honestly see things that way, and that's okay. But think about it. What is my brand? To the extent that I have one, what is my brand? No, but we're talking about branding. We're talking about, there you go. We're talking about the marketing. What is the one thing that is associated, there's like Supreme Dark Lord, Evil Legion of Evil, right? And so what is the one thing that people who have known me for a long time understand? What do you not do with the Supreme Dark Lord? As Andrew Anglin found, don't challenge me. I will go on for months. I have gone on for months on a debate over the Japanese invasion of the West Coast. I don't bluff. If you say, I'm going to release your emails, my answer is always going to be, go ahead. I expect that the NSA is reading the emails. Google has the emails. If Google decides it wants to try to embarrass me at any time, they can do that. If the FBI or the NSA wants to try to embarrass me at any time by releasing all that data, all the emails, they can do so. And so, the emails between Andrew Torba and I, there's nothing embarrassing in there. I mean, if there's anything embarrassing, it would only be that there are a couple little things that maybe tend to violate Andrew's current narrative. But they're not really embarrassing. You know? I mean, that's why I thought it was kind of funny when Andrew had reacted that way to my saying that, you know, I'll just go ahead and put the emails out there. There's nothing embarrassing in them at all. You know, so to try to suggest this stuff and whatever, well, I don't care. You know, there's nothing embarrassing on the phone calls and phone conversations. I mean, I think probably the most embarrassing thing that would be on any of the phone conversations that I had with Andrew Torba was I was pitching him on giving us access to their emails. Or not to their emails, to their email list. And, you know, Andrew said, no, because we were going to offer some free stuff to them. He said, no, we can't do we can't do that. We don't really do that. Blah blah blah. And it turned out, I didn't know this, but that's actually contra to ICANN rules about mailing lists. You literally are not supposed to give your mailing list to anyone else. So what you do, in fact, this actually explained something I've always wondered. Have you ever noticed that they talk about renting email lists? That's why. You can rent out your email list, and then when it's rented, you have an email list, I rent it to you, and then you tell me, you give me what you want to send out, and then I send it out. I mean, and the only reason they do that is because you're not allowed to just give them or sell them to somebody else. Okay? So, in my total ignorance of what the rules of mailing lists are, I asked Andrew for something that he correctly said, no, we don't do that. I don't know if he knew that he couldn't do that or if he just, was contra there. Either way, he did the right thing. That's literally the most embarrassing thing in the 81 emails between us. And yes, I mean, frankly, I think that's probably more embarrassing. That was more embarrassing for me than any of the other stuff in there would be for him. So, yeah, exactly. A fun message from our partners. We think that's exactly what it is. How can I put this? There's a lot of stuff going on right now with Gab that has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with this. And I suspect that is, part of what's behind Andrew's uncharacteristic lack of control. It's fine. I'm not angry. I'm not pissed. These things happen. There are bumps in the road. That being said, yes, we are going forward with the court order. I've seen the petition. I haven't signed it yet. because there's a couple little things. We've got dozens of examples. The interesting thing, I'm not going to say anything more about it, but the interesting thing is some of the stuff that I thought was defamation is not, much to my surprise. And some stuff that there is absolutely no possible, I never imagined for a heartbeat that it was defamation. I mean, it would not have even occurred to me to ask to have it removed. Turns out that under the law is actually defamation per se, which is the kind of defamation that you don't need to prove malice or, knowledge or anything like that. And so, the law is very, all I can say is the law in Texas is very, very different than I ever would have imagined. And I've actually been through this stuff with English law and Australian law. I'm not going to say anything more about it just because it doesn't, I'll talk about it afterwards. And I'll explain it afterwards. But again, what we're doing here is exactly what Andrew asked us to do. It's exactly the way that he said we should have done it in the first place. I did make some mistakes. I should not have given the first guy a warning. I should not have asked him to take it down. Based on the way that they do things, I should have simply gone ahead and filed a petition right away. And so, c'est la vie. Now I know. Now I don't think, because I considered myself a friend of Gab, I thought that they would want me to do that. I thought I was doing the right thing. This is the problem with the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you doesn't always work. Because sometimes they would rather have you do something else. So, live and learn. So, honestly, I'm not Gab's problem. I know it may seem like it is, and that sort of thing, but, all I'm doing is getting rid of the defamation, and we will get rid of it. Eventually, the users will take it down. And so, I do think that this is, whether Utsav and Andrew see it this way or not, I do believe that this is something that will help Gab in the long run. But that's not my purpose. That's not my point. My point is very simple. Andrew Anglin asked me, he said something about, are you willing to harm Gab in order to, get rid of the name calling? And I said, given the nature of the defamation, if necessary, I will burn the whole world down. And I meant that. This is not, I'm finishing up a best-selling book right now. SJW's Always Double Down is already, in pre-order, gone to #1 in political philosophy. Again, like its predecessor. And so, I'm absolutely willing to let it harm Gab if that's necessary. Okay? What part of Supreme Dark Lord don't you understand? You want to know what my brand is? My brand is that I am, when moved to action, ruthless and remorseless. That's my brand. If you want to mess with me, then you're going to find out that I don't stop. All you got to do, that's right. Your cries for mercy fall on deaf ears. I haven't even begun to do anything. That's fine that you don't stop, but you guys are stupid. That's the thing. You've got a group of you know, what? A bunch of young, inexperienced guys with 85 to 105 IQs. You know, I haven't done a thing. I haven't brought in the VFM. I haven't brought in the Dread Ilk. I haven't summoned the Men of the West. And you guys are throwing everything that you can. You're right. You can't even... No, you guys can't even debate. You guys aren't even capable of debate. You're hopeless. You're absolutely hopeless. You're very, very stupid little boys who are dumb enough to run around committing defamation per se. I'm going to unmask every single one of you that has done that. You understand, Gab is going to turn over what they have. Those of you who are pro, we're going to have all the names and the identities. And then the next step starts. Okay? You know, and it, you know, it's just, you know, how long was it after Scalzi and his crew started going after me in 2005? What do you mean, cool, then let's do it? You guys have already been doing it. You guys have already been running around, throwing your accusations and all that sort of stuff all over the place. All I've done, literally all I have done, is I have debated Andrew Anglin. Well, you've already seen how that turned out. All right? And made a couple calls to a few of the people in the Legal Legion of Evil. That's it. I haven't, you know, but, you know, so I don't know. Maybe these guys are all unemployed. Maybe none of them go to universities and that sort of stuff. But I can tell you this. You know, I'm out in the open. That's why you can do that. You guys lie and hide in the shadows. The light is coming. Maybe you can handle it. Maybe you can't. I've been subjected, I mean, like, you know, think about this. I'm not justifying the position. I'm trying to explain what's happening. Okay, 16 years ago, I got subjected to mass attack by the Council on American Islamic Relations. Massive amounts of death threats, email, all this kind of stuff. All right? I've not only seen this stuff, I've been through it for nearly 2 decades. Longer than some of these guys have been alive. You know, so the name calling, all this sort of stuff, you know, this is nothing new. I don't get upset about it. I don't get worried about it. You know, yeah. I mean, it didn't even affect my writing. You know, the book is going to be polished up and out on schedule. You know what? I mean, you guys know what upset me this weekend. I was genuinely upset. I am genuinely upset this weekend because a really good man died. You know, Jerry Pournelle's death is vastly more significant than any of this crap. All right? It's not a big deal. You know, they're going to do what they do. You know, they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to run around and, you know, and post vulgarities and call names and all this sort of stuff. You know, they've been trying to hack. Here's the thing: they've been trying to hack into Castalia House for the last 4 or 5 days. Well, we've had that happen since we came out and endorsed Gamergate. All right, so you know, you got to keep in mind the anti-Gamergate folks did. And recently, obviously, some of the Daily Stormer crowd have been trying to hack into the Castalia House site. You know, this is normal. This is expected. This is predictable. So anyhow, that's what's going on. On the brighter side, in remembrance of Dr. Pornell, starting tomorrow, There Will Be War, Volume 1 is going to be free. And later in the week, There Will Be War, Volume 2 and There Will Be War, Volume 10 are also going to be free. So I would absolutely encourage, if you haven't read those series, they were a major, they made a major impact on my intellectual development. Plus, they're good books. There Will Be War Volume 2 is actually the best science fiction anthology I've ever read. And so, and when you read it, spare a thought for two. For Dr. Pornell. Yes, we are going to finish the series. In fact, I was really sorry that we're actually coming out with Volume 7 and Volume 8 this month, and I would have liked to have had the entire series out before Dr. Pornell died, but it wasn't to be. And so I'm just happy that he had the chance to be honored with a standing ovation at Dragon Con 2 days before he died. He was much loved, he was much respected, and his legacy is going to continue. His legacy will continue on because he's left us such a rich library of books and material to read. We're also going to be publishing Strategy of Technology. I don't know what's going on with the California anthology. It's not anytime soon. So anyhow. When you find yourself getting caught up in stuff like the Gab thing or the Daily Stormfront or whatever, just remember, we don't have that much time on this earth. Make it count. Make it count. At the end of the day, that's what matters. Have a good evening.